Good afternoon, Legacy Kids. It's great to see you again. I hope you liked our segment on Thursday about the Prodigal Son. We are going to, you might notice the car noise in the background. We have found a new location at our house. We are outside, out front, in our front yard, and the weather has changed, right, Mr. Darren?
Yes, I'm even prepared in case it rains.
So if you hear some noises that you may not normally hear at Legacy Kids, that's why. We're keeping it real. We're out here in front of our house, bringing Legacy Kids to your house. And so today's Sunday, Palm Sunday, and we wanted to continue on with our story, The Prodigal Son, that we brought to you on Thursday with the skit. And I hope you liked our amazing actors. I thought they did a great job for their first debut, And so I am going to bring back the story and kind of recap, and then we're going to go from there and see what happens. So as you remember, the prodigal son had gone to his father and asked for his inheritance early before his father had even passed away. And so the father loved his son, and so he gave him what he wanted. He gave him his money, and of course the prodigal son went off to a faraway land and spent all his money on wild living and partying. And then once his money ran out, he had no food, he had nobody that cared about him anymore. He didn't know what to do. So he realized he needed to go back to his father, maybe that his father would take him back, and that he might even just be a servant for his father, and he would at least get to eat what they got to eat instead of that disgusting pig food. But once he got back home, his father saw him from afar, and he ran out there, welcoming him back into his home. And we know that he gave him his best. He put sandals on his feet. He put a robe on him. He gave him the ring. He wanted him to have a big feast and have a party. And that's where our story starts off today. And instead of having the perspective of the prodigal son, we're going to have the perspective of the older brother. And so you might wonder how the family interacted and how he felt about his brother coming back from this journey of spending all his money. And so let's look at our Bible. Remember in Legacy Kids, we talk about our Bible, and we talk about it having, here's mine, we talk about it having two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And we always, if you were here with me, I'd ask you, but I can't hear you out there, but I know what you're thinking. What are the two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament? We are in the Gospels. We are in Luke. And so we are in Luke chapter 15, and I'm going to read straight from the Bible where we left off about the older brother. And so basically the older brother is working in the fields. He's helping his father probably every day doing the same routine. And all of a sudden he comes up and he hears loud music. He hears partying at his house, and he's wondering what's going on. So he asks his servant and says, "What's going on?" And he tells him that your brother has come home and your father is throwing him a party. And so, Mr. Darren, what do you think his reaction might be or could have been?
He might have been like, "Man, let's go party."
Okay.
Or it could have been, I'm working all the time and I never had a party. I don't know. Let's find out.
Okay, let's read it. Let's read straight from God's word right here. We're going to start in Luke chapter 15, and I'm going to start on verse 25. It says, "Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house. And he asked one of the servants what was going on. 'Your brother is back,' he was told, 'and your father has killed off a calf, and we were fattening, and he has prepared a great feast. We are celebrating because of his safe return.' The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, 'All these years I've worked hard for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to. And in all that time, you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet, when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the finest calf we have?' His father said to him, 'Look, dear son, you and I are very close, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he's found.'" And so what's interesting about this story is that we get the perspective of the older brother being upset and angry, but we don't know what happens after that. We don't know if his brother goes back into the house and welcomes his brother with open arms and enjoys the party. We don't know if he's still mad and goes sulk somewhere. We really don't know. So Jesus leaves it up to us to maybe know what happens. We all have families. We all have times where we don't feel like things are fair, just like he didn't feel like it was fair that he had been doing what was right all along, and he wasn't getting a party, and he wasn't getting this special treatment. And so as you're home with your families, I bet there's times when you argue and you fight and you think things aren't fair. And so let's talk about forgiveness. So what did the father say? He said we need to celebrate. Your brother was dead, and now he's alive, and now he's back. And so we want to forgive him. And so just like in our own families, when people hurt us or people do wrong us, and especially at this time when we're spending so much time together, we want to remember this story. We want to remember that it's really important to have those relationships intact, because if we don't make amends, like if the older brother just said, I'm not doing this, his relationship with his brother would never be the same. He would miss out on that beautiful relationship that God created, and all of us too. So when we don't forgive, we miss out on relationships, and we miss out on the fullness of life that God had for us. What do you want to add to that, Mr. Darren? Anything?
Man, you covered it well. You did a great job.
Okay.
I think that's our choice. Can we hold on to the forgiveness, the unforgiveness, and miss out on the party and the celebration, or can we choose to forgive and receive all of the goodness that longs to be coming our way?
All right. So in Legacy Kids style, we always have our story, we always have our lesson, and then we do some application games. And so even though you're at your house, I want you to play this game with us. I'm going to read a scenario, and this game is called Sweet and Sour, okay? So Mr. Darren is going to make a choice. When I read this scenario, he's going to decide if it's sweet, show us what you're going to do, or sour. So he's going to put on this really cool hat for a celebration hat.
Remember the young son and the party hat.
And so that's the sweet. And here is the sour.
Oh, and
he gets to have some, if you can see what it is, it's some Easter eggs, sweet Easter eggs for Easter. He's going to eat one of those. Or if it's a sour about unforgiveness, we're going to look at the Sour Patch Kids, and he's going to take that. So you're going to choose. He's going to hold them, and I'm going to read the scenario, and then he's going to choose which one he thinks is the best one. So here we go. There's several. It says, Dad was so happy that his younger son had finally come home that he planned a giant party. He gave his son brand new clothes to replace the rags he'd come home in. He called everyone together to plan a feast. The workers at the farm were making piles of all the best kinds of food, everything they had ever served for a special occasion. Imagine like Thanksgiving. Okay, the neighbors were coming from all over when they heard the good news. The younger son was back. He was safe and sound. Okay, Mr. Darren, what are we doing?
It's party time!
It's the sweet, right?
It's sweet, very sweet. Oh,
awesome.
We gotta have one of these. Let's see. Oh, blue.
Okay. All right, here's the next scenario. While there was partying and music and food, the older brother came toward the house. He did not come into the party. He did not eat the food or even dance a little to the awesome beats that were coming from the musicians. He just paced around and fumed. So now he has to have a sour. All right. Dad came out to invite him to the party, maybe to make sure he got his favorite part of the meal, or to tell him that Cotton Eye Joe was next up and they could show the whole town how it's done. Dad was excited to tell his older son, who had grown into his friend, all about the reunion and the party that awaited him. It wasn't just a party for their younger brother. It was a party for the whole family.
Oh, yeah. That's sweet.
So that's a sweet. All right.
Man, I'm having hat issues here.
Got too many hats.
Yeah, too many hats.
Oh, this is a good one, guys. This one sounds like something that could happen. It says, but the older brother just started yelling. He didn't even notice the awesome song that started playing or the platters of watermelon that went by on the way to the party. He accused his dad of being selfish and mean and being an old fool. So is that sweet or sour, Mr. Darren?
Sour. Man.
All right.
I got to do another one of these?
Yeah, you got to do another one. In the middle of a party thrown by the kindest dad who ever lived, the older brother crossed his arms and shook his head and growled that he was the most neglected son on the planet, and he was never going to celebrate that his good-for-nothing brother returned.
Man, he's killing me here.
Another sour.
Another sour one.
Okay, here we go. A couple more. So his dad went back to the party where the games were getting going and the dessert was being served.
Do that one again. I'm still freaking out over here on all the sour.
So his dad went back to the party where the games were getting going and the dessert was being served.
Oh, there we go. Games.
That's what I'm talking about.
Woo! Dessert.
Okay.
All right.
And you ready? The older brother, who we don't know what happened to him, maybe he stayed outside and kicked the dirt and pouted.
Man, this guy, he ain't figured it out yet.
All right.
All right, here we go again.
Another sour.
This is rough, man.
I know.
Okay, hold on.
Someone's got to do this tough job.
I'm telling you.
All right, but maybe he went up to the buffet line next to his kid brother, tapped him on the shoulder, and told him he had barbecue sauce on his face just to make him laugh, like when they were kids. Maybe he chose not to be sour. Maybe he chose to forgive and not miss out.
Finally! Winner, chicken dinner. Woo!
All right, so guys, as we are at home and we are celebrating Palm Sunday, and we are really thinking about what Jesus has done for us and the forgiveness that he has done for our lives, for all the things that we have done wrong in our lives, how we've sinned against him. Remember this story. Think about the forgiveness. Think about both perspectives. Think about when you've messed up, and think about when you haven't messed up, but you have to forgive someone else, and you have to look past whatever happened and restore the relationship. And so as we finish up our segment this week, I want you to be thinking about Easter coming up next Sunday, and we will have a video for you and some activities for you to do at home with your family, Legacy Kid style, that as you celebrate Easter. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Darren?
Yes, this is the Easter week. This is the Passion Week. So yes, Thursday, huge day. That's when we'll have our first video, and then Sunday, it's Resurrection Sunday. But there's something special to be celebrated each day of the week, this coming week. So we're going to challenge you this week and hope that you really spend the time with your family and growing in your faith and looking to see what was special about each and every day as you lead up to Easter Sunday. We'll see you soon, guys. We sure do love you. We miss you.